Emma.
Yes, Madelyn?
What would you call a game that combined our second game today and Tony Hawk?
Gosh, I don't know.
Ollie Ollie Oxenfree!
Listening to Talk This, It's Dangerous to Podcast Alone.
I'm Madelyn Paquette.
I'm Emma Paquette.
And we'll be your host on our podcasting adventure today.
If you don't remember from last time on this show, we pick an old game, pre-2007, and a new game within the last year or two. And we talk about them and discuss them. Who's the hottest? Who's the coldest?
Also the gameplay.
Yes.
And whatever else comes into our mind. And then at the end of the show, we play a little game and we try to invent a new game combining elements of the first two.
Call us Game Studios. Sometimes I can't think of one. My mind just goes blank.
So, our two games today are going to be Burnout. Specifically, probably Burnout 3. Takedown, since that's the game that we're most familiar with. And then also Oxenfree, which is a newish indie game, right, Emma?
Yeah. Well, yes, I would say it was an indie game.
If you've been paying attention to the Game of the Year lists, you may have seen it.
Unlike the long list.
Oh, that's right, not as, literally Game of the Year, but, top 10. I've seen it on some top 10s.
Yeah.
But if you haven't played it, we'll give a summary when we get there, because I haven't played it, but Emma has.
It's fun.
But we're going to start out talking about Burnout.
Vroom.
So we played Burnout a lot as kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I played Burnout a lot.
I didn't like it as much. I wasn't very good at it. Is mostly what I remember. I've never been good at racing games. I just moved the joystick too much, and so the car goes... Or driving games. I guess Burnout is not necessarily a racing game.
No, Burnout is a racing game.
But I mostly remember the ones where you're supposed to cause the most destruction as possible.
Right, because there's a race mode and there's a crash mode.
Yeah.
No, but, I don't know, crash mode is fun, right? Because it's it, racks up the dollars of destruction, and that's really satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's frustrating, too. Because, when you get, on the easy levels, it's oh, yeah, $1 million of damage without even trying, woo! But when you get to later and you have to really have to hit all the multipliers to get the good scores, and that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially because, when you're playing in, the ones where they have the little tuk-tuks. Do you remember the little tuk-tuks?
Tuk-tuks.
You know what tuk-tuks are.
Maybe, I don't explain them to me.
They're little, they're like Surreys. Right, they're
series?
No, not series. They're little, two-person, kind of bicycle cart things. And they're really little, and you get no money from them. But they always F it out for you.
I've never heard them called tuk-tuks before. I just think of them as the bicycle thingies with the people on the back.
Maybe we're thinking of entirely different things. But, yeah, anyway, the tuk-tuks are frustrating. But it was fun to get to pick your car.
Yeah, that's true. I do think the crash mode in Burnout was not we would usually play it in our granddad's attic, which does not really feel like the sturdiest structure in the world. So I felt like Crash always intensified my fear of falling through the floor of our granddad's attic.
This makes it seem like a lot more third world than it was.
It's not third world. It's just all wood and the floor creaks and it's you have to go up these really small steep stairs to get up there. And so I was always, and I was 7? Well, 9. And I just was convinced that one day I was just gonna fall through the floor.
So that's why you didn't like Burnout?
Sure. Because it showed me the fragility of things.
Wow.
I know.
That's deep.
Isn't it?
Burnout being about the fragility of life. And also just about how, there's always someone out to get you.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, it takes a lot of planning to make a good crash, clearly.
It totally does. When you get the ones where they, like, take a photograph of it, and they're like, takedown! But it's, like, not even just, like, the normal takedown, where, like, I mean, like, obviously the best way, the easiest way to take down is just to, like, nick the back of your opponent's vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So they go totally vertical.
Yeah.
Which, like, I really hope that normal cars, it's not that easy.
I really don't think it is.
I don't know,
I mean, it probably depends on what each car is.
I mean, like, obviously you're going really fast in Burnout, right?
Yeah.
And most of these are some lightweight cars. But you can also crash these, like, big old trucks. So, I don't know. Thinking about it makes me feel a little bit more unsafe on the road.
Well,
But not really.
Yeah, like, I feel like a lot of it is how fast you're going. Like, race cars, you could probably do that.
Because they're really lightweight.
Yeah, and you're going really fast. And trucks are just, like, imagine that they're hard to manage. You know, you have to be a pretty skilled driver to be a truck driver. But if you're in, like, a minivan or, like, our Subaru, like, I don't think necessarily that's going to happen unless you're really trying for it to happen.
As you can tell, we're really up to date on our car lingo and the mechanical car knowledge here on Talk This.
Yeah. We
really know all the technical terms and all about how driving works, probably because we learned a lot of it from Burnout.
Yes. No. If you're looking for... Go to Car Talk if you're looking for...
Car Talk. Does Car Talk... I don't think Car Talk even...
It does exist.
I know it exists.
It's not quite the same, I think.
Do they still record new episodes, though? I don't think they do.
Really? I really thought they still did.
One of them was dead.
Ooh. You got burned out.
Wow. I hope not. Man, how sad would that be if, like, one of the guys from Car Talk died in a car crash?
That'd be really sad.
Would it be ironic? I think it would be.
A little bit.
I mean, like, I hope it's not just, like, Alanis Morissette.
It would be more ironic if he died from, like, some sort of car failure.
Oh, that's true. If he was, like, under his car fixing it and it fell and crushed him.
We should really not talk about this anymore.
What if there was a Burnout version like that? It's like you're not driving the car. It's just like, you need to make sure this guy fixing the car dies.
That would really not be
I guess
fun.
Burnout isn't really that dark. Wow, the crash mode never addresses how many people you kill. I wonder if they factor into the dollar signs.
Maybe it's all self-driving cars in Burnout.
That's true.
It's in the future.
Wow. But then, like, you're in the... Oh, so you're like the Uber operator, like, who's, like, from afar, running the red lights.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That actually makes the game a lot more palatable. If you think of all the cars as not containing humans.
Yeah.
And it also makes a lot more sense why after you crash, you just sort of, like, go back. Although, does your car get beat up? I feel like your car is beat up. It starts to look beat up. No, I think I'm wrong about that. Never mind. I think I'm thinking of a different game. No, but the race mode is fun. It's like okay, again, I'm sure this is going to be a running theme on this show, but we miss local co-op modes.
Yes.
Game developers
oh my gosh.
don't do them anymore.
I don't understand why, also. I mean, I guess it's some extra programming. We are all up on our programming lingo and technical knowledge, also, here at Talk This.
We're learning to code, so...
But I don't understand. I mean, I guess there's not as much of a demand for it, but I don't even know if that's true.
I feel like I would buy it. At this point, if I saw a game that looked even vaguely interesting that had local co-op, I would buy it.
I am really, like, I have never really been interested in, like, Borderlands. Like, I've seen my dad play it sometimes, but it has local co-op, which sometimes gets me considering buying it.
Well, that's
just
the thing.
For that.
Like, the zombie killing games usually do. Maybe less so now.
Yeah, well, there was, like, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, which was by, Valve, I guess. But Valve doesn't really make games anymore. They just sort of left. They never make their third part of their trilogies, essentially.
That's awful.
Half-Life 3, where are you? It's never coming out, guys. But anyway, like, those were all, that was 4-player local co-op. And I just feel like that's fun. It's like, I don't understand people who just, like, don't want to play. Like, I feel it's more fun when you have, like, friends in the room with you. But I guess I haven't experienced very much of, like, online multiplayer either.
Maybe it's like a lady thing. You know?
Like a late, yeah.
Like, I don't want to...
Well, I don't know. You want to hang out with your bros, play a game. If they're all in the same room as you on the same system, you can't play with them. They have to be all at their own houses.
Maybe it's a young adult thing then. Like, if I don't have a system in my dorm, but like if I did, some of my friends used to, and we'd all go over and play game or trade off playing Portal.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Or like he and his roommate would play shooter games together all the time, and like that's how they hung out.
Yeah.
And if more games did that, like I would feel confident that I know people that I could invite to play with me sometimes. But I guess like that's not really a thing. Like, who is the average gamer these days? I would assume it's a young adult male.
There are a lot, but it's definitely becoming more of a diverse field these days. And there's a lot of, like, middle-aged men and women who are playing games. Like, a lot of mobile gaming, of course, but also
but I'm not talking, you can't have local co-op. Well, you can, though, because, like, we played this game. There are iPhone games that can sort of be local co-op, but whatever.
But it's not accurate to say, like, anymore. Like, when games were first starting out, like, games, like, on the systems, like, the console-type stuff, it was pretty accurate to say that the majority, like, the almost overall audience was young males, like, young adolescent males. But you can't say that anymore. Like, it's just not true.
But I guess it's like, okay, so it's like, I'm a 45-year-old, like, whatever, dad, or something. Like, who am I going to play games with?
Yeah, well, your son.
Maybe. Okay, so I have a 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah, well, there's no games for 4-year-old girls.
No, but like that's what I'm saying.
There's My Little Pony.
But
on your
that's
mobile.
what I'm saying, right? It's like there's like those guys have got to be like key demographic, right?
Yeah.
Like I realize it's changing and games are diversifying, but like for the kind of games that would have local co-op but don't, it's like I'm thinking of like shooter games, right? There are all sorts of shooter games that could have local co-op, and I feel like that's not a priority anymore. Or even, like, story-based games. I was doing more research on Uncharted since our most recent episode, and one of those has a local co-op mode.
Which one?
I think it was Uncharted 2. I put it on our fact sheet. You can look, but you can... Oh, maybe it was. It might have been one of the side games.
Oh, like the Golden Abyss?
Yeah, maybe. But still, it was like a full-on Uncharted game where you could also play as, like, Sully or Elena or something.
I mean, they do have multiplayer modes. I'm not entirely sure if they're local or online, because I've never really looked at them.
Maybe it wasn't local, but still. Like, even just multiplayer. I don't know, I would love to see, Little Big Planet is, like, an interesting game.
Yeah.
But, like, it's objectively, like, not, like, you just keep playing and playing, and the levels aren't that different. You solve a lot of the same puzzles over and over, right?
Yeah.
But I play it a lot because it's meant for multiple people. And it's more fun when you play it with multiple people.
Yeah. It's really, like, My Little Big Planet.
My Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet.
Wow. Okay, there's a game idea.
That
Little
really is
Big Planet, but, like, My Little Pony.
Yeah.
That would sell
you
like
scale the
gangbusters.
difficulty level down a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah, so that, like...
Because Aurora plays, I mean, she's not good at it.
She's not good at Little Big Planet. I mean, she's able to play it.
Aurora is our almost 7-year-old sister.
Wow.
And, I mean, she's been playing Little Big Planet for a couple of years. I mean, she's not good. She definitely holds our team back. No offense, Aurora.
Sorry, Aurora.
You'll be good in a couple of years, we promise.
Yeah.
But, like, she doesn't, it's not that she doesn't understand the controls.
Yeah.
So I just scale back the puzzles a little bit, make the Sackboys ponies.
Yeah. You know, honestly, that would really...
This has gotten really far away from Burnout.
It really has, but, you know, that's a solid game idea. Who makes My Little Big Planet?
I don't know.
They're owned by Sony, I guess, because I'm pretty sure they only come out on PlayStation.
Yeah, that's all I've heard of.
This is not the game we were assigned this week, so we've not done our research on it.
Anyway, what were we talking? Local co-op.
Yeah. So, yeah, because the racing games...
Racing games, I feel like, almost always do.
Do they make a lot of racing games anymore?
No, I was reading about Burnout that, who is it who makes it? Wait, I can look this up. But whatever the company is, was saying that like, they were phasing away from mobile... Criterion.
Mm-hmm.
Was saying, like, the guy said in like 2013, which is now like eons ago,
Yeah.
of course, that their company is moving away from racing games, so we probably won't ever see another Burnout.
Yeah.
Unless people really have
I mean,
a demand for
there's
it.
like, the thing that's closest, I guess, right now would be Rocket League. But that's not even the same. It's like you play soccer as cars.
That's weird.
It's a sensation. It's an esports sensation.
I would play that.
Yeah.
I like the soccer games.
But I don't think it's local co-op. It's like online.
Then what's the
play
point?
teams.
I don't care about beating some internet stranger.
I mean, technically you could play with your friends online. I just feel like,
What's
why,
the point of that? If you're both
you're not in the same room.
The only way that helps is if your friend is really long distance.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But it's like, if you're both sitting at home, playing on your PlayStation, Xbox, Wii, whatever, like, and you're within easy commutable distance from each other, why don't you hang out in person and play?
I guess this is not our generation.
I realize I'm like 80 years old saying this. Like,
Yeah.
why aren't you in the same room, kiddos? What's that? Speak up! But yeah, I just don't understand.
I mean, yeah.
But that's why Burnout is great. Because it's one thing to get a great takedown on an AI car, but wow, I will go to immense lengths to take out Emma, or my dad, or anyone else I know that I am playing with.
I always feel like they bullied me in any racing games we play.
It's fun. It's more fun when you're bullying your friends.
But I
Video
sucked
games.
at them. I already sucked at them. I already had no chance of winning, and they still shot me up with
This is
missiles
funny
and
because
bombs.
now Emma is like the major gamer in the
And
family.
I still am really bad at them. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I'm still really awful at video games.
Some people are just born with it. Do you think some people are just born with it?
Maybe people are born with better, or it's just, I don't necessarily think you're born with it. I think you have to have, like, really good hand-eye coordination and really good, like, muscle memory, right? Of, like, knowing what all the controls do.
That's true.
And, like, I feel like Aurora is going to be better than me. Just because, like, I didn't play as much when I was younger because my dad and Madelyn would play a lot. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily play with them. Because, like you played from an earlier age than I did more frequently.
I guess it's we got the console, like we got the PlayStation. Like, what? I know we had the PS2 when I was like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
so we got the PlayStation when I was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which meant that, like, really feasibly you couldn't play.
Yeah. Like, I feel like to be good at games, like, you have to have some sort of, like, young experience. It's sort of like language, I guess. Like, it's way harder to become fluent in a language once you're past, like, a certain age. Like, you learn skills when you're younger, and this is just, like, a different skill that gets ingrained in you. Like
how we're not good at shooters.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty good at button mashers, like, anything where you have to, like, mash buttons around and sort of do that.
And I'm good at racing games.
But we never played a lot of shooters, so we're not very good at them.
Well, I'm good at, like, what's a zombie game that I played with Dad? It's not Borderlands. It's the other one.
I don't think
Dead Rising. Dead
Rising.
Rising.
A zombie game.
Borderlands
is not even.
I don't know why I think Borderlands is a zombie game. It just feels like a world where it should be. Dead Rising. I'm good at shooter games that are, like, mostly button mashers.
Well, Dead Rising isn't necessarily, like, because you can use all those crazy weapons.
Yeah, it's just not as technical.
Yeah.
I like games that aren't hard. I like easy games.
Yeah. I have been known to change the difficulty level to easy on some games. Like, I started playing Bioshock Infinite, and I was like, this isn't happening unless it's on easy, so feel free to judge me as you will.
But that's what's great about Burnout, is that anyone can play Burnout, and it's fun. Like, I know that you're not good at it, but anyone could go into the crash mode, and, like, after a couple tries, feel really satisfied. And, like, anyone can, like, even when you get taken down in a race, it's, like, still funny. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's like, oh, like, defeat. Like, it's not a serious racing game.
Yeah, it's really not.
Like, I get far more frustrated playing, like, pole position.
Pole position?
Like the old school, Namco game. Like the arcade game.
Yeah. Well, any arcade game where you have an actual wheel.
Well, no, it wasn't
all bets are off.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, I get far more frustrated playing that kind of game than I ever do playing Burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish... Is Burnout on PSN?
Probably.
Or Steam or whatever?
It
I don't really
probably
understand
is.
what this is. But can I download Burnout? Because now I'm really wanting to play.
Well, yeah, probably.
It's been a wide range. I didn't really think that Burnout was going to generate a lot of good conversation.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a pretty simple game.
It is a pretty simple game.
You do a lot of crashing.
You know what's not a simple game?
What, Emma?
Oxenfree.
Wow. Master of the Sag. I don't think there's really any way. Like, does Burnout have, like, Wait, I do have to address the Burnout radio station.
Oh, there is a radio
in-game radio station with the DJ.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you play your own music? I don't think I'd want to.
On what? On the
Burnout radio?
I have no idea.
I don't think I'd want to. I like games that have, like, in-game soundtracks. I don't know. It's like a good way to discover new sort of, like, lame pump-up music. I really want to look up the Burnout soundtrack for the half marathon.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry, I keep coming up with things. Why aren't there running games?
The Wii Sports.
It's not a running game. You don't run in Wii. Why aren't there games where you race in a run?
Well, there's that online game. Do you remember it where Q something? Where you, like, control both the runner's legs with keyboards and you try to get him to run fast and not just flip himself over.
Yes. That does sound familiar, but I don't remember what it is.
It's impossible.
If any of our viewers remember the name of that game, let us know.
Yeah, really. I remember just being impossible. Nobody could do it.
I mean, like, I know there are, like, races within games. Like, Kingdom Hearts has a race, Final Fantasy has that race. But where are the running games? Some of us are runners, too. Or the cycling games, or the power walking games.
The power walking games. What?
That would be honestly, that would be a great Wii game.
Well, there are all those simulators. There could be a power walking simulator.
That would be strong.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. Anyway, Oxenfree. Speaking of things that are, like, based on real life, but not.
Yes. So, probably some of you have not heard of Oxenfree. But it's a game made by Night School Studios, which is a relatively new studio. They're like people who worked for Telltale and then sort of split off to form their own studio. So it's sort of a similar style of game, but like more involved, right?
Who first thought of that? Who was like, here's how we're gonna make our games? I guess the founder of Telltale, obviously. But like, I don't know.
I guess they just like wanted to try something. Like it's sort of... Like, nobody really does what Telltale does. Like, they don't really have any direct competition, I would say. I think they have, like, indirect competition because there's a lot of games now that are trying to incorporate more player agency. Like, there was dialogue decisions in Uncharted 4, like, 3 of them. And every time I was like, who thought this was a good idea? This is not it doesn't even affect anything. It just, you choose what sassy line you want Nathan Drake to deliver.
I love that.
No, but there's only 3 of them, and every time they come up, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that I even had to do this. It's like they've sort of, like, thought about it, and then we're like, nah, and then they forgot to take it out.
Do you think they'll ever have a direct competitor? Like, do you think they'll be, like, Telltale Studios, who does the exact same thing? Except their X button is that don't say anything.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of focus on... There's a lot of games now that are trying to, like, experiment with player agency. Nothing... Like, I would say Telltale is probably the biggest studio that does it.
Right,
but this is sort of competition, Night School Studios now.
Like, if I came out, me personally, obviously, and made a game that was, like, based on that exact same mechanic, like, could I get sued?
I really doubt it.
Like, what can you copyright within a video game? Like, what elements of gameplay?
I think their engine is copyrighted.
Okay, fine, but their engine sucks, so who cares about that? We'll probably get into this, because I'm sure
I don't think you can copyright a mechanic.
Is Oxenfree's engine that crappy?
No, Oxenfree is really beautiful, actually. Some people, like, there's, like, the visuals are, like, it doesn't... No, you really didn't. I didn't give any summary. Let's give a little bit of summary of Oxenfree. So it's sort of like My So-Called Life, but a horror version. So you're sort of like these sassy teenagers. You're Alex, you've got blue hair.
Is Alex a boy?
She's a girl.
Girl.
Yeah,
Great.
she's got a big blue ponytail. It's actually really cute. But it's still, she has blue hair, so that's sort of the style that you get. And, you know...
Wait, that's upsetting to me that you... I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's upsetting to you?
That you don't get to choose what your character looks like.
Well, it's you're not an avatar. You are a person.
Never mind. I'll let you finish the summary, because
Okay.
I'm just going to keep interrupting.
So Alex is being dragged to this island, Edward's Island, by her friend Ren, because apparently it's a tradition that before your senior year, all the class goes to this island and like has a big rager party. Except this year, people had a big rager party the week before, and therefore are in too much trouble to go out to this island, right? So there's only 6 of them. You, Alex, Ren, your best friend since you were like babies, Clarissa, who really does not like you, Nona, who's Clarissa's best friend, and Jonas, your very brand new stepbrother who you've never met before this night. And so you get, you know, that's an awkward combination, particularly once it comes out, and this isn't really a spoiler because you find out pretty soon, that Clarissa dated your brother, who is now dead. He died about a year before the events of this game.
Not because of Clarissa, though.
No, not because of Clarissa. She actually sort of... Well, I won't... That's sort of spoiler territory.
And then spooky things start happening.
Yes, you bring this radio with you, because apparently there's all these signals on the island from radio stations that don't exist, and Ren thinks it would be cool to tune into them. So, like, you find all these radio stations, and you're in front of this cave, and it ends up doing lots of spooky things. Jonas goes in to go see what's happening. You follow him. You find this weird little triangle floating in the air, and then you tune into the frequency, and you end up sort of opening the gate for these weird spirits, who they ask you, is leave possible?
And then you get to answer however you want.
Yes. The big mechanic of Oxenfree is that you pick literally everything your character says. Like, Telltale games usually just have, like, some choices, and sometimes your characters just talk on their own. Not in this one. You pick everything. It's possible to play this game without saying literally a word, because you pick everything this character says. And it also matters...
I mean, you have dialogue choices. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Well, yeah, you have 3 different dialogue choices. It's not like you speak into the mic and they just respond. Although there is some games that
How far away is
that?
that?
No, there's some games that are experimenting with that. There's one, it's got like a weird, complicated name, so I can't remember it. Like you speak into it and normally it can understand. Like there's still some glitches, of course, because it won't like hear you properly, or it'll like see something as a verb when it should be a noun or something. But that is possible. But this one has dialogue options, and it doesn't just matter what you say; it matters when you say it. And it like you can look at things, you can interrupt people. And it's just like a very interesting mechanic. And like everything has weight, right? Some things, like what I really admired about it is there's one conversation you have with Jonas at the very beginning that feels like just like whatever, right? You're just having a conversation with him. And then it comes back later, and based on what you said, it either shoots you in the back or like props you up. Like, oh my gosh. There was, like, it happened. Like, he brought back something I said, and I was like, oh my god. Like, wait, I told you that in confidence. Wait, stop.
Wait, so, like, it doesn't have the, like, Jonas will remember that.
Well, sometimes, not always. Sometimes they will have a little thought bubble above their head with, like, a character's picture in it, which shows that, like, something about their impression of that character has changed. But it's not always affected by you. Sometimes... Like, you'll see occasionally at the very beginning, like, Jonas will have a little thought bubble with Ren in a picture, like, based on something he said that you don't have any control over. That's just showing you that he's not particularly impressed with Ren.
And yet, despite all of his choice, how many endings are there?
Well, there's several, but then there's one. This is deep spoiler territory.
We won't talk about it. But there's only one ending.
Well, I think that the one ending adds to the sort of horror element, right?
Which is fine, but this is just bringing up more of my general issue with these sort of choice games.
Okay, wait. Though, before we get into that, let me just say there are multiple endings, right? there are, like, multiple ways the story can go. You get this whole summary of where everyone is now, and, like, what happened based on your choices on the islands. Like, there's multiple endings. There's even ways where you can sort of... There's, like, multiple endings within multiple endings, but then, like, the way that they make it horror is that there's only this one ending at the end that you can't get out of, right? So, like, just let me say that. Like, it's not like there's, like, one ending.
That's fine. That's a genre choice, if that's how you're gonna say it. And, like, that's fine. That's interesting. I can hang with that.
You can hang with that?
Yeah. But what bothers me, and, like, I really enjoyed, I just played Tales from the Borderlands, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I had a good time. That's probably a game we could talk about at some point, since it'll be a new game that I've actually played.
Well,
Shocker.
It came out more than 2 years ago, but I think it's new enough that...
Wow. Like, shot in the heart. I'm like, wow, I've played a new game. No. Well, it came out more than 2 years ago, but
we've made a couple of games since then. I think it came out... I want to say 2013, but I feel like that's too early.
No. I was reading about it. It's 2014 into 2015.
Yeah, okay.
So, fine. Whatever.
I guess that's...
Anyway, something that bothered me about that game, and that in my reading about Telltale, it seems to be pretty consistent, is that, like, your ending doesn't... Like, you make all these choices, and it feels like you're making really real choices that have impact on the story, and they do to a point, but then they don't. Or, like, Mass Effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were talking about this on a long car ride recently. Like, that's 3 whole games.
Yeah.
And you get 2, then 3 endings?
Yeah. After
3 whole games? I just feel like for this genre, this, like, you know, Telltale style decision-making game to really take off, your choices really actually have to have an effect. And I get that that's a ton, that makes it a massive game. But...
See, I respect Madelin's opinion, but I also disagree. Like, I really don't mind that an ending is the same, or at least highly similar, depending on the choices I've made. Because I still feel like your experience in the game is so extremely different from anyone else's. Like, when I played Tales from the Borderlands, and I really thought it was fun, and I thought Madeline would enjoy it, so I had her play it, and she made, like, all these different decisions that made, like, entirely different things happen.
Loaderbot will remember that.
She made Loaderbot explode, for instance.
Iron Giant!
Oh my
I really
God.
thought it was an Iron Giant type situation.
You suck.
Man.
But yeah, like, she made all these decisions that made her game so entirely different from mine that it was sort of like I was watching a whole new game being played before me. And it's like...
Until the final chapter.
But I don't think that matters. Like, I don't mind that it's the same ending. I think if that's, like, how the story should go, then that's how the story should go.
I understand why it has to happen in Tales from the Borderlands, right? Because it's, like, in the canon, like, presumably we're going to see some of these people in Borderlands 3, even if we're not, you know, the existence of some of these people
are different.
Yeah. So, I get it. So I get why it has to have a sort of consistent ending. But it also is frustrating. I don't know, maybe it's like a theater artist thing, right? Like, there are interactive shows where it really can end differently. Okay, so, like I've done, I guess we haven't really ever done, like, a proper introduction of ourselves, but I'm about to graduate with a theater degree. And hopefully go to grad school. We shall see, won't we? But I've done a lot of work with interactive theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just about to go back to do some of it for our freshman orientation, or our transfer student orientation. And, like, in this kind of theater that I do, like, you do a scene, and then you get to talk to the characters, and then audience members get to come up and, like, really change the scene, right? And that sort of seems like sort of the idea... I mean, I get that you're playing sort of a character within it in Telltale, but that sort of seems like how Telltale operates, right?
Okay.
Like, you get to go up and, like, make choices that affect the other people up there.
But that's the limits of the genre, is because you can't... Like, they're not... and maybe they will be one day, but I really doubt that day is soon, that, like, of course in theater you have human brains that can process a whole lot more information than one game can, and you've got a bunch of them up there, and so you can react in real time to that, to anything that comes your way, because you have all these situation processes in your head that just simply can't be in one game.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I think that's why I have this expectation of these games, and why it frustrates me particularly when they can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's respectable. I just think, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it would bother me more. Like, I haven't played The Walking Dead, which is also by Telltale, and I just feel like it would bother me more in a game like The Walking Dead, simply because, like, in Tales from the Borderlands, you're having a crazy, wild time, right? And The Walking Dead is more like a serious, like, things you do, like, sometimes cause people to die, right? But you still come out, from what I understand, to mostly, like, one conclusion. And so, like, that in itself, I think, would bother me more, simply because you're not necessarily having a great time while it's happening.
Does Oxenfree have quick time events?
No.
Does that make it a better game?
I mean, I don't mind quick time events. I mean, sometimes I find them more frustrating in games where there's actual also gameplay, and then I'm like, really, I have to mash the circle button here? Like, that's dumb. But, like, it does give you something to do when there's, like, action sequences going on, right? That you have to press these buttons, and they're not, like, they can't give you all control of the character, because that's not how they work, or whatever. They can be frustrating sometimes, simply because sometimes there's enough space in between QuickTime events that I forget that they are a thing. So, like, Madelyn didn't die at all during Tales from the Borderlands.
Well, okay, I died once.
Okay, whatever. Sorry, my fault.
Only because of a distraction.
But I died, like, several times. And Tales from the Borderlands honestly makes dying kind of fun. But it sometimes was like, whoa, wait, what? QuickTime event, wait. Although I was better at them than Madelyn was.
But that doesn't happen in Oxenfree.
No, there's no QuickTime events. You instead have your radio, right? So in certain locations, like, the very beginning, Ren is like, people who've come here before have, like, marked places where there's weird radios with stones, right? Like, pile of stones. Mm-hmm. So as you wander through, you can find some of those and, like, tune in, and you get these, like, freaky things that also sort of, like, clue you into, like, a little bit more of, like, the mysteries behind what's going on. And there's also, like, collectibles, like, if you find out later that this one old lady who's now dead, who was living on the island, has, like, buried these letters around, and so you can also go find those, and that also sort of gives you, like, insight into what's the mysteries of what's happening on the island.
Are there other, like, we keep describing this as horror, right?
Yeah.
But, like, it's not, like, bloody or violent or, like,
no,
right? So,
no, I mean, it's I would say it's scary.
But so it's like more,
it's
like,
not bloody or violent. I don't think that even necessarily has to fall under horror.
Well, I was just gonna say,
like, that's the issue with some of the more recent Resident Evil games, is they focus on the jump scare and, like, the blood and stuff instead of, like, actual, like, sort of psychological horror.
So I was gonna say, like I get that it does fall under that, but saying, like, would suspense be a better sort of genre title?
I guess it could be suspense.
So I can't think of any other video games that, like, do that. You know? Can you think of any other games that...
I'm sure there are.
But I was just thinking about how interesting that would be, to have, like, a like, this is super cool, and the decision-making and, like, even the timing of it making a difference is super interesting, and I would love to play it. But I'm thinking of, like, how cool would, like, a suspense-based, like, sort of traditional, you know, kind of adventure-type game. Like, Uncharted, but, like, suspense. I mean, I know you suck at the stealth mode, so maybe this doesn't sound good to you. But, like, I don't know. I feel like that'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there might be games that, there's just one cool game that I will never get to play because, like, it's inaccessible. That like, you get, like, a heartbeat monitor, and you play through it, and, if your heartbeat goes up, it gets scarier.
That's so cool.
So you have to, like, consciously calm yourself down. Which, like, not this game, but there are games like that can be used sort of as, like, anxiety treatment or, like meditation type stuff.
Cool.
Because you have to consciously think about calming yourself down, right? So that it gets less scary. And it's just, like, you have to get that hardware, so it's just inaccessible for a lot of people.
Is there, like, a special heart rate monitor that, like, attaches to the console, or is it just, like, any...
I think it's on the computer. It might be on consoles, but you can get, like, a heartbeat monitor, or, like, sometimes there's, like, these can measure your heartbeat, if you keep your fingers on
What are
it.
these?
Oh,
the listeners.
These. I'm sorry, I was touching my computer keyboard. And there's options like that. But that's just, I find that, like, a really cool concept.
See, I think that's the next foray. Wow, the next foray. I don't really think that's how you use that word, but, like, whatever. The next frontier. Mm-hmm. That's actually what I meant to say. For, like, these Telltale type games. Is, like, incorporating actual body stuff. Like, are you sweating? Yeah. Wow, I would love an interactive sweatband. Wouldn't that smell great after a couple of uses? Yeah. Yeah. That would definitely be cool. Because, like, surely that's coming, right? Like, video game... Because, like, there's all of these fitness games.
Yeah, well, there's VR now, and I think probably one of the things that VR can do is sort of monitor you in some ways. Like, I don't think it's going to be every home accessible every time soon. Like, the PlayStation VR is barely every home accessible.
We should do a VR episode.
We don't have VR.
I know that, but, like, talking about VR is our present game.
We'll have to try it. The Microsoft store at the mall near us has a VR sample set up. I think it's the Vive that they have there.
So we'll have to give it a try. Yeah. Look for that on an episode coming to your ears soon.
Yep. So anyway, how would you mash up Oxenfree and Burnout?
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
See, there's a couple of ways you could go, right? Like, you could go towards, like, a Pixar Cars route.
Yeah.
And make it about talking cars.
Yeah.
But, as we all saw with Cars...
But it could also be horror, because, like, Burnout is about, like, crashing cars and taking down cars, right?
There's, like, a ghost
car. There's a ghost car that's out to get you.
That's interesting. I kind of feel like... Does Burnout not already do that?
I don't know.
It kind of seems like something... Like, that seems like almost too easy to work into the mechanic of Burnout. You know?
Yeah.
Like a ghost car. Like, it's gotta be more interesting than that.
Well, they're talking cars. No, like you said, like a Pixar Cars thing, except
here's
horror.
The thing, though, and maybe this is controversial, but I don't think it is. Pixar Cars is, like, definitely bottom tier Pixar
Well, it
movie.
wouldn't actually be Pixar. It just, like, would have the talking cars.
I get that. I don't want to see Lightning McQueen, Oxenfree.
Yeah.
But, I'm just saying. It's like, it's gotta have the crash element.
Yeah.
Like, that's important. But, like, horror. How do you do a suspense racing game? Racing games are already suspenseful.
Well, sort of, I guess you add more, like, the getaway element.
Maybe you just literally combine the two games. Like, you're the driver, and you're having to, like, play Burnout, right? Like, Burnout is basically unchanged. But while you're playing this already stressful game, you have to, like, talk to people and not blow up your relationships. And you wear a heart rate monitor.
You wear a heart rate monitor. Wow. That would be fun, but also, like, extremely not fun at the same time.
No, it would be so great. It'd be, like, so immersive.
Yeah. So, but are you actually, like, racing, like, Burnout, or are you just driving around? Like, you have to drive while talking to people?
No, you are racing like Burnout.
And you have to talk to people? Who are these nonsense? You don't want them in your life anyway.
You're on the phone. You gotta. You just gotta. Okay, well, like, we'll come up with a story element later, but there's something really important going on.
Maybe, like, you're like, trying to get away from, like, the cops or whatever.
Maybe.
Right?
And you're also trying to cause as much mayhem as possible as you get away from the cops.
But also the people in your life don't know that you're this type of person. So they're calling you, and you have to try to, like, cover yourself. Or while also doing all these other things.
So, like, going with because, like, here's the problem, right? Like, you crash a lot in Burnout. Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of things that are really unrealistic for you as a human in the car.
Yeah.
And that'd be impossible. Like, you would just die and have to start game over like so many times. That'd be too frustrating. So we'll go with like the car as drone thing, right?
Car as drone thing.
Right, so like you're doing the car from afar.
Oh, right.
And you're like part of some kind of secret ring or whatever. Like, I don't know why you're having to drive the car and play Burnout, but you are. You're an assassin. You're something or other, right? Someone has paid you to do this. Whatever. I'll figure out that later. There's got to be a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time as you're doing that, and like probably to make this feasible, you'd have to have like some kind of like gas pedal and brake attachment. Yeah. So you could be driving the car, but also doing, like, conversation buttons.
Well, I mean, you could possibly do, like, the R2, L2 buttons for, like, accelerate and brake.
But I'm saying, if we really want to make this, like, really, like, player accessible, everyone
I don't know if that's not player accessible. Well, maybe there's, like, an optional brake and pedal, a thing. But I think that if you just had R2, L2 as just basic accelerate, brake, and you're moving around with this, and then the triangle, square, circle buttons are conversation options. Like, that's not entirely too
We'll talk to the developers about what's feasible. But yeah, just, like, having some kind of story where it's, like, you're operating this, but you're also on the phone with people, and there's just, like, all this stuff going on, and eventually it all comes together into one big fiery explosion.
There you go.
I don't know. Like, Burnout doesn't really have a story mode.
It doesn't, I don't think.
You know, it's like you do advance, and you keep doing stuff. There's not, like,
you
really
a
story
cars,
behind it. Yeah,
right?
you keep unlocking cars. But, like, there's no real, like, character-driven story behind it. Because, like, why would you want there to be? Burnout's not about that. If that's what you want.
Burnout's story would be, like, desperate suicidal man. Like, wants to take out everyone possible. Like, it would really not be a fun story.
Like, wow. Like, what if that's what it was about?
Oh my gosh. Deep.
It's like these people are trying to, like, talk you out of doing this, and you have to decide whether you want to ignore them or, like, become a good person. Now it's kind of becoming, like, Grand Theft Auto a little bit.
It is kind of becoming like that, except you don't, like, I haven't really played Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
You don't harass people on the beach or whatever.
No, instead you just kill them in their cars.
Yeah.
Oh, but everything's a drone, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Or what if, like, you're a cop, and so, like, it's like Dexter. It's like in Dexter, right? Like, he's a serial killer. Spoiler alert, except no spoilers. He's a serial killer, but he also works as a blood spatter guy at the police station. And his sister, like, rises through the ranks of the police, but she works there too, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you're remotely controlling this car, but at the same time, you're, like, talking to the cops who are trying to find this car. And you have to, like, throw them off the scent or something. How cool would that be?
That'd be potential.
You know?
Yeah.
Or you have to decide whether you want them to catch you or to throw you off the scent and, like, what happens. And, like, if they catch you, I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting moral dilemmas there.
Night School Studios. You got your next game.
Is that the Oxenfree people?
Yeah.
Why'd they call it Night School?
I don't know.
Did they start it at first as, like, a night thing after Telltale? I can't imagine they had
doubt
free nights.
I think, like, they have, like, there's this Mr. Robot texting game, that I think they worked on as sort of like a subset of Telltale, and then I guess they liked working together so much that they formed their own studio. Wouldn't that be
cool to work, like, text messaging into the game?
Yeah, well, that's what this is like, you find a phone on the sidewalk, and so the app is, like, a different phone system. And then you get text from people, and you have 3 choices of what you can send back. Or you can not send anything back, and they'll continue to harass you to text back.
That'd be cool to work into this game. It's like, not only do you have to drive this car and talk on the phone, but you also have text to answer. Wow, I love this. This is great. How challenging and exciting would this game be?
It'd be really hard.
But it'd be, like, fun hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can't, like, really die and lose. You just have a lot to handle at once. Mm-hmm. And a heart rate monitor to make sure that you're staying safe.
Yeah. You have to pet your dog sometimes.
Yeah.
Why not?
It comes with a dog.
I was reading this funny, I think it was an AMA.
No, that would be if we were combining Nintendo, all this with Nintendo.
No, there was like an AMA on Reddit, I think, with Night School. There's like this weird quote at the very beginning that you find, like, graffiti on a wall, like, saw a man about a dog, and then saw a man but not the dog. And, like, they were talking about how, like, we actually wanted to put a dog in the game, but apparently their animators told them, like, you can either have a dog or these people can walk while they talk. And they're like, I guess we'll do the walking.
I guess. No, what lazy animators. Just kidding. You guys deserve bonuses too.
Yes. Bonuses for everybody! Bonus for you! Bonus for you!
We're very
bonus
supportive. Once again, we'll say, wow, imagine voice acting for the Oxenfree game.
Really, honestly, for any game these days, like any sort of big budget game, there's so much dialogue that has to be recorded.
Right, but I'm saying for like these, it's like, because like, do you record in order? Like, you probably don't.
No, honestly, you probably do not.
But even for these games, it's like, how could you record in order? You can't.
Yeah.
I just think that's fascinating. Like, how do you, like, how much, like, I mean, like, knowing from the strike stuff, they get no context, but like, how much context do you get? Do you just have this like long list of like individual lines? You know?
Yeah.
It's just weird. If you're recording, like,
I feel like a game like
choices.
this, you have to have a little bit. You have to have some context for everything,
right?
Whether they get that, well, they probably get the whole script maybe when you're actually recording.
But how do you get the what does the whole script look like?
Like
for this kind of
choose
game?
your own adventure book.
I guess.
If you say this, turn to page 52.
Wow,
you died.
That'd be a nightmare as an actor. Although, man, my dream is to write a choose your own adventure play.
Yeah. For
real. I'm sort of writing one now, but it's fake. But like an audience-based one. So, look out for that at a theater or a game console near you. Man, Telltale should bring me on. It's like, I specialize in interactive theater.
Okay. Pitch it.
Hire me! That's my pitch. Concerning my resume. Doesn't look very good right now. But yeah, I'm very happy with this suspense-based driving cop game.
I think it sounds super fun.
So, you got 2 buyers. Somebody give us a ring.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, so that's our episode today, folks. Thanks for tuning in again. We have one more in this sort of first batch of episodes before we start pulling games out of the hat. But you've been listening to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
And for our next episode, Emma, what are our 2 games?
So our old game will be God of War. And our new game will be Pokemon Go. Combination there.
Alright, so that's it. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.